Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, in this video we will discuss about broader consequences of climate impacts on food production. In some regions such as South Asia that are already food insecure and where most of the population increase and economic development will take place, climate change could be the additional stress that pushes system over the edge. As currently 1.8 billion people live in South Asian countries and the population has been increased from the last few decades in South Asia, and there is food insecurity and the economic uplift is also one of the main problem in these countries. So climate change is also one of the main stress, and it is pushes the whole stress system towards the food insecurity as well. So climate change directly threatens food production, as from this line it is clear that it directly affect food production. Indirect impact of the climate change on lives and livelihood will likely include food price instability leading to food and nutrition insecurity, potential conflicts over land and natural resources, and migration and forced displacements. So food price instability is also one of the main problem in South Asian countries, especially in Pakistan. Sometimes when you go to the market you buy very expensive some fresh vegetables or crops or even wheat and maize, but if you go on the other day you will find the prices of the especially the vegetables, it would be much higher or much decline. So the decline in the price or increase in the price is one of the main problem with uncertainty in the market, leading to food and nutrition security are also one of the main problem. When there is when you go to food there is no proper nutrition available to the people. So potential and conflict over the land, mostly conflict is over the land and natural resources and rural area. If you go to tribal belt in the high land areas where there are some mountains and people they have conflicts on natural resources such as on coal and other mines or there in the rural fata. So and migration force migration is also has the issue of the displacement. So next, the most disruptive effect of climate change may lead to transformational adaptation in areas where crop agriculture, pastoralism or fishing can no longer provide feasible livelihoods. So transformation adaptation is also one of the main problem in agriculture. Pastoralism means livestock or fishing, and in fishing you can also have many problems. So transformational change is also one of the main problem, and agriculture productivity, livestock and fishing is also disturbed due to the transformational adaptation. Food and nutrition security. Many recent studies have been published that demonstrate significant near-term climate impact on agriculture and food and nutrition security. South Asia in particular is often singled out as one of the important hotspot of these impacts, and one example using a statistical analysis of historical relationship between temperature and precipitation data and harvest for the major crops and 12 food insecure regions. Lobel et al. Is one of the researchers. He identified that South Asia and Southern Africa as two regions with high probability of suffering production losses to crop important to large food insecure populations. Funk and Brown estimates that interactions between drought exacerbated by climate change and declining agriculture capacity, including the effect of population growth could increase demand for the World Food Program humanitarian assistance by 83% by 2030, and the absence of agricultural development that reduces effect on yields. So, food and nutrition security is also one of the main threats in the world, and you can understand from this paragraph that in South Asia and Southern Africa, two regions with high probability of suffering from food losses. In future, we would have some food crisis in Africa and South Asia as well, due to large food insecure population. Mostly the increase take place in the population, and the population is increasing day by day both in Africa and South Asian countries, due to which the food insecurity will take place in 2030. Number one, we will discuss here about the impacts. Number one, impact on yield or production of crop production will result in price increase for the most important agriculture crops: rice, wheat, maize, soybean, with import cost for South Asian countries increasing to around 15 billion per year. When you cannot have your own production in rice, wheat, or maize or soybeans, then you will face extreme problems. And in South Asian countries, mostly they are facing extreme problem. For 15 billion per year, they will export these crops from other countries, and it will again bring an import cost on these South Asian countries. Number two, higher feed prices will result in higher meat prices, and calories availability will decline relatively to 2000 levels throughout the developing world. 2000 means that on the average the calories needed to be higher from 2000 calories is very much important for a healthy human being, but when it would be below 2000, then it will create nutrition problems within these countries, and the higher price in the meat and crops will create problems for these people who are living with higher population in these developing countries. Then we study about an important point to note with regard to many studies on food security impact, such as every study that tend to focus only on global aggregate impact. EFRI is actually an organization which usually work on food security and food problems within the global countries. So in an aggregate assessment, if wheat production decreases in India but increases in Russia, globally things even out. So when the decrease in wheat production take place in India, it increases in Russia. So aggregate approaches inevitably hide devastating impacts of climate change on people and communities. The cost for farmers, their families, and their communities in India of declining wheat yields or wheat production, the implication of slowly declining yields or production on their availability to repay debts. So perhaps a need to start growing a different commodity, as wheat is consistently not producing adequately. These are impacts that at least as important to estimate and to address as global production losses. So mostly if you see the rural poor who live or the rural farmer who live in India, they have a problem of debt. They get credit from the agriculture market, and when they get the credit and was for their crops, then they use or utilize this money into their own livelihood. So again they face the problem of debts, due to which when if there is the wheat production is declining in rural India, what will happen that the farmers will not grow the wheat production, and it will turn towards another crop in order to sustain their debts. You know, debts means the credit, or so if someone is borrowing money from the agriculture market and then they have to repay these money again, so they need to have sufficient production for that. If the wheat production is decreasing in that region, so they will move to another area. So here again, the agriculture production has direct impact on climate and food security as well. So migration and transformation. So in next video we will discuss about migration and transformation.